Today I'm going to talk a little bit about pre-built computers, my recommendations and suggestions around those, and then the rest of the video is going to be largely focused around my video production, my methods for it, the way I think about it, and especially the way I think about it moving forward through the rest of 2021, because I've been feeling this weird sensation. It's almost like optimism, like I might actually have a little bit more time to get work done soon, and I'm looking forward to that. This is Probing Paul, my monthly Q&A, episode number 62.
Excellent!
The Thermaltake Tough Air 310 is a tower-style CPU cooler built to handle up to 170-watt TDP CPUs from AMD or Intel. 4 6mm U-shaped copper heat pipes efficiently transfer heat to the Tough Air 310's asymmetrical fin stack, designed for increased airflow while still leaving plenty of room for taller memory modules. A powerful but quiet 120mm 2000 RPM high static pressure fan rounds out the package, so if you want to lower your temps with a CPU cooler from Thermaltake's Tough Air series, click the sponsor link in the video description. As usual, we begin with a look back at past Probing Pauls. There is a playlist if you guys are interested in diving back into some of the older episodes. Also serving as a reminder that if you'd like to ask me a question to be answered in the next episode, leave it in the comment section down below. That's where I got all of the questions that are being asked today. And let's get right into it with the first question. Kelby Young asks, "Hey Paul, I love your content. Was wondering about your thoughts on people opting for pre-built systems given the current purchasing climate for CPUs and GPUs." So you're probably already aware that graphics cards are insanely overpriced right now and very difficult to find. CPUs as well, especially if you want the newest AMD CPUs from the 5000 series, but those are actually becoming a bit more widely available. The 5800X for sure, 5600X even is becoming a little bit more available, and we're expecting the B2 stepping CPUs to be available soon as well, so that should hopefully also increase the availability. Graphics cards are a different question. Those still remain insanely overpriced, and so one of the ways to get a functional gaming PC right now is to buy a pre-built. That's a little weird because if you're going to build your own PC, chances are you are doing it in order to get around some of the common issues with pre-built systems, and that is typical things like going really skimpy on the power supply, having proprietary components that are difficult to upgrade down the line, and it's often pretty common for pre-builts to wedge in really budget, low-end parts that might look good on paper, like memory sticks, but then the memory itself is like the cheapest, most bare-bone quality you can possibly get. Now, I have not had the opportunity to do much testing on individual pre-built systems myself, so I'm leaning on some of the work that Team Linus has done over at Linus Media Group. They have the Secret Shopper series that they did part 2 of about 5 or 6 months ago now. And then Steve and the team at Gamers Nexus have done some more recent videos, in particular taking a look at Dell G5s, which are really, really horrible. And if there's one upshot you get from watching this little bit here, don't buy a Dell pre-built. They're doing a really, really bad job with them on multiple levels. I'll link both of those videos in the description if you guys haven't seen them and you want to check them out. But speaking of multiple levels, one of the reasons I appreciated what Linus and team did was they looked at the pre-built buying experience on multiple levels, and they assumed that someone who's buying a pre-built might not actually have that much complete knowledge of how PCs are built or the ins and outs of the hardware. So they included everything from the initial buying experience to tech support to talking to a rep on the phone and being upsold stuff. They actually had quite a few issues with stuff like pushy sales reps, including extended warranties that they didn't necessarily want, and stuff that you might not consider if all you're thinking about is, I need a graphics card, let's buy a pre-built for $2,000, because if I was just to buy that graphics card by itself, it's going to cost me $2,000 anyway. I have 2 bits of advice for you guys though. The first is going to be to reality check the total cost of the components of the pre-built that you're looking at, and specifically you should be looking at stuff like the CPU, the motherboard, the graphics card, the wattage of the power supply, and the remainder of the components, and then you can cross-compare that with what you might be able to assemble using PC Part Picker or something like that to see if you're really getting much of a deal. Keep in mind that system integrators and boutique builders are also very aware of the price of graphics cards right now, so you might still be paying a bit of a premium for that graphics card even if you're buying a pre-built complete system. And then second would be to go with a system integrator who has performed well recently, and my short list going off of some of Steve's work and Linus's work and some of the other research I've done online is iBuyPower is a great bang for the buck. They're not the top tier in every category, but they did provide Linus's team with a fully functional system. They didn't do horribly in any category, and this was also one of the ones where, looking at about a $1,500 price point, they actually got the most in terms of raw hardware out of the system with a Ryzen 7 3700X and an RTX 2070 Super. Second recommendation would be Main Gear. You can find a lot of different options there. You can configure your system system yourself. They are going to charge a bit of a premium for the assembly and delivery of the system. They are a pretty top tier boutique builder, which is why they can get away with charging a little bit more. But the back end troubleshooting support you're going to get if you ever need it is definitely going to be worth that money. And they've also had good performance with sending replacement parts and stuff like that. They, like many builders right now, have extended lead times on all systems due to COVID-19, so you might be in for a little bit of a wait there too. Beyond that, especially if you're within range of one, consider Micro Center. You can configure a system there online, and you can pay a little bit of an extra fee to have them assemble it for you. Also, if you're close to one, you can bring your system back in if you ever do actually have problems with it, so that's a nice added benefit. Beyond that, there's HP. They're completely capable of providing you with a functional system. Not many bells and whistles there, so they're kind of a middle tier system provider if you're going to go that route, but keep an eye out for deals if they might have them. And then there's CyberPower, who I always kind of had in the same bucket with iBuyPower. However, when Linus did the first Secret Shopper, which was a couple years ago, CyberPower failed horribly. It does seem like they redeemed themselves a little bit with the second round, so it seems like they have been working on some of the issues that Linus had with the first round. Now, I wish I could have answered this question by saying that I have actually tried out these boutique builders and system integrators, and other than Main Gear, I can't really say that I have. So I'm really glad that Steve and the Linus team has been taking the extra steps to try some of these out, because it is one of the only viable options for getting yourself a graphics card right now, other than sitting and refreshing all of the supply feeds 24 hours a day, which not a lot of people can do. Good question though. Let's move on to the next one, which is from Adam Spencer. Hey Paul, love your videos. Thank you so much, Adam. Because of you, I've been able to build 2 computers with my son. That makes me feel very happy inside. My question is, do you have any new video series ideas, like challenges or anything like that? I love coming up with new ideas for videos, but that is not what I'm working on right now. And if you guys haven't been following my saga over the past couple years, I have a daughter. She was born in 2019, and in the 2 years since she was born, I've been sort of just trying to claw my way back to some sense of normalcy. After the first year, I felt like I was getting there. I was comfortable enough to where I was like, let's go ahead with some of these home remodeling projects that we've had planned for a while. And the idea was to sort of get through that and then sort of reassess what my capabilities were here and sort of kick back into gear. But of course, then 2020 happened, coronavirus, lockdowns, lots of confusion, difficulty sticking to a regular schedule, so I just sort of felt like I was treading water and just sort of barely staying afloat for that period of time to get some videos produced so that my channel wouldn't die completely. To get back to answering the question though, I have ideas for video series that might come a little bit further down the line. My goal right now though is to reestablish a baseline so I can upload regular video content that I can get done in a reasonable amount of time that provides some level of entertainment and value for you guys. I had this written down on a piece of paper and I decided to make it slightly more legible for you guys, but here are 3 videos for each week, and here's kind of like my monthly schedule for week 1, week 2, and week 3, and week 4 of each month. I've been doing tech news. That's the one video I've been doing with regularity this year, and I've actually gotten into a pretty good routine of doing that, and usually I film that at the end of the week on Friday. I need a beginning of the week video, so what that is going to be is either a deals video, which is my monthly builds video, and then I think I'm going to add a second one in there, which is more deals, but going by parts categories. What we're doing right now is Probing Paul, which is my Q&A series, and I think I'm going to do that twice a month as well, and maybe add mail time back to it, because if you guys don't know, I have a P.O. box listed in the description of every video, and people send me stuff from time to time, although I haven't been getting as much stuff recently, because I would usually open that stuff when I was doing the live show with Kyle, which we used to do on Tuesdays, but since we're not doing the live show anymore, I need some other vehicle to do mail time, and I don't really feel like I should just do an individual video for that. So that's my idea for the time being. That leaves me open to do video number 2 each week, which is a build project or something similar to a build project, and that will allow me to a little bit more freely and a little bit more flexibly work on projects that might take 2-3+ days to actually film without feeling like, I need to get something done right now so that I can post a video tomorrow, like I'm doing today. Now, if you guys watched the last Probing Paul, which is about a month ago now, I sort of talked about this and my plans and how I was excited for some stuff moving forward. And then this last month had so many just curveballs thrown at me that I somehow reduced the number of videos, and I really only produced tech news for quite some time. So thank you guys again for bearing with me through all the stuff that's gone on over the past year or two. And if you guys are okay to bear with me a little bit longer, let me get this new schedule kicked into gear, get it going for a month or two. And then I think I will start to feel comfortable talking about new ideas, new series, collaboration projects, and stuff like that. Also, my editor Joe, who used to come and work with me and help me film here in the garage pretty pretty regularly, hasn't been coming over, but he is going to start doing that again at the beginning of June, and I'm also really looking forward to that. Several of the remaining questions are about either series that I've already done that I maybe might bring back, and this one specifically from Northby is about my garage work logs, and I haven't done one of those in quite some time, and I responded last month and said yes, because I totally had one planned at the time, but then like I said, last month was a little bit challenging, so I never went through with it. I really like my garage work logs because it lets me do stuff like setting up a time-lapse camera and then getting a bunch of work done. They go back quite a few years. This one actually goes all the way back to 2015 when I was setting up my shelves and everything like that. A lot of work has been done on my set since then, but once I get through these PC projects I'm working on, rebuilding my main editing PC back there, rebuilding the stream and capture PC out here, I think what I really want to do is a full set overhaul. So that's going to involve pulling these countertops off of here, pulling the shelves off the wall. I might redo the paint job. I've only painted this area back here, but I might paint the rest of the garage. Need lots of time to do all that stuff, so it's still sort of in the planning phases. But yes, I have more garage work logs planned, and I'll be proceeding with those as we get closer to summer. And it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. Next question from JC. Hey Paul, any thoughts on having a smart home? I love your remodel vlogs. This would be great to see. I will talk briefly about my smart home thoughts, and that is that I don't like smart home stuff. That's not really true. The smartest thing I have in my home right now, I guess, is probably, that's a weird way to phrase that, but is probably the Tesla setup that I have, which is the Powerwall and the solar grid and the gateway and everything that functions there, and I have a full video series on that. I guess we do have a smart thermostat that we can control remotely, so that is actually useful because especially like here when in the summer when it gets really hot, if we're out somewhere and the AC is not on, we can be like, oh, let's turn the AC on and cool down the house before we get back home. And that I find to be useful. The stuff with like, you know, automatically turning lights on and stuff like that, I just, it's not really worth the effort to me. Like turning lights on and off, I've never really found to be that challenging or that convenient to where I'm like, I need an app to handle this. But then I guess it also kind of ties in with my slight bit of paranoia about Internet of Things stuff, internet connected devices and their vulnerabilities, and especially some of like the, you know, you can buy solutions that are entire packages that do smart home stuff for you. But for me, if I'm ever going to integrate more of that, I want it to be DIY stuff that I control with like, that's like living on a server that's here in my house that I have complete authority over versus, you know, a third party that's being involved. So I'm not going to rule out smart home stuff. I'd say the next step where I feel like I might get into a little bit more is actually with outdoor stuff, gardening stuff, and maybe doing some stuff that monitors like soil moisture levels and that kind of thing, which again, is really just like the vaguest blip of an idea in my mind. But who knows, maybe I'll move forward with it at some point. Next question from Michael Freeze. Hey, that means your name is Mr. Freeze. That's pretty awesome. It's the chilling sound of your doom. Paul, I enjoy watching the more thoughtful explanations about PC. I've been watching you and Jay for the past year. Between you and Jay, got a pretty good idea of what to do for my next owned PC. Currently use mine for college, work, streaming, Xbox. I'd like to stream PC games, which I'll slowly get more into. What do you think about streaming, and do you do it yourself? Let's try to answer this question efficiently. What do I think about streaming? I think it's pretty cool. I think it's almost sort of like a new medium that has arisen in the past 5 to 10 years that didn't exist before. And I think there's a lot of entertainment value that can come from live streaming. I even think if you look at like the past year with coronavirus and everything, so much live streaming was happening that people were using it as sort of an alternative social interaction method, which I think really does have a lot of value for society in general. That's not to say that live streaming has ever not been used for like nefarious purposes or anything like that, but generally speaking, I like live streaming. I approve of it. I don't have anything like negative to say about it. I do not personally stream very often, and in fact, the times that I have streamed most regularly have been our Awesome Hardware charity streams. And we did the last one on December 12th, 2020. The full video of it is there. I'm live streaming here. I'm just restreaming Kyle because he was opening something or something like that at the time. Oh, he's doing a graphics card unboxing. And I have 3 more things to say about this. 1, if you're planning on streaming yourself, I think one of the best solutions if you want to do it with a single system is to get one of the newer NVIDIA graphics card that has the NVENC encoder, NVENC, specifically the one that kicked off with the 20 series. It's also in the 30 series. You can game and then you can use the video encoder and the GPU to capture and stream your game at the same time with very minimal performance impact. And that's been the best solution, I think, that has come up in recent years, especially if you're building your own system. The second thing is, I I would totally love to stream more often or on a regular basis. The most motivation I have for that is that it would be a really good excuse for me to play video games on a regular basis, which I tend to not have very much time to do. So I would need to have time to do that, and maybe some time will open up soon that I can say, all right, I have like a 3-hour gap once a week that I can slot that in. And if I can arrange that, I totally will, and I'll totally start streaming. I'm not making any promises right now though. The thing I will make a promise for is awesome hardware. Yes, the regular live show that Kyle and I used to stream on Tuesdays is canceled. However, Kyle and I are still friends and we've still been hanging out somewhat regularly. So we have established an actual date for the Awesome Hardware charity live stream for the summer of 2021. It will be on June 26th. That's a Saturday. We're planning to stream for 8-ish hours. I believe we're still doing Extra Life to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So if you guys are gonna be free that day, feel free to stop by. I will be streaming on YouTube at least. Kyle, I imagine, will be streaming on YouTube. He's also been live streaming just gaming and stuff pretty regularly on his new channel, Workhorse, so I'll link that in the description too. And keep an eye on our Twitter accounts as we'll be tweeting and discussing that event as we get a little bit closer to it. I'm also doing a build, a really nice water-cooled build that's gonna be given away in coordination with that giveaway, and that build should kick off this week. The video for it might go up next week, but that's gonna be a really cool build too. Just a couple more questions. This one from Lipo Battery. Would be cool to see some setup reaction videos from you. I always liked your critiques on Awesome Hardware. Just going with the general theme of today's video and, you know, new series and stuff like that. I never dove into the Pimp My PC, critiquing people's PCs or critiquing people's setups thing. Just about everyone else has done it. Jay, Kyle, lots of other tech YouTubers out there have done videos where people send in pictures and you look at the pictures and you say that sucks or that's okay, or here are the things I like or dislike about that particular build or setup. I think part of that is because I'm kind of a contrary person, and when I see a bunch of people doing something, I will often say, no, I don't want to also do that thing. Sometimes I do as well, but I'm just using that as an excuse. But let me just ask you guys directly. Would you like to see a video of me critiquing people's builds or people's setups on an aesthetic level? If yes, then leave me a comment in the comment section. And if I'm really on top of my game, I'll post like a straw poll down there as well. Next is a question from Nick Thorne. He says, I just watched your video where you showed a time lapse making some store cupboards. I was wondering, how do you shoot and edit your time lapse? I've tried shooting video and speeding up, but it doesn't seem to look quite right. Thank you very much for the comment, Nick. And I actually have a video on this. It's over 5 years old now, but it's still, I think, pretty relevant. And I have actually 3 different methods of shooting a time lapse with this. One is connecting a webcam to your computer and using software. The other is using a camera with an intervalometer built in to take snapped pictures and then bring those in. Then you import those to a video editor. I was using Premiere in this one, and then you can actually create a time lapse. And then you can also do like what you were talking about, which is just to shoot a really long video with like a camcorder or something like that. Again, I will link this in the description if you want to watch the whole thing, but personally my favorite method is the one that uses a camera and takes lots of high resolution pictures, because if you render out a time lapse with those, you get a really big frame size, and then you can actually crop in on it, or you can like scan around it and post and stuff like that, which is lots of fun, and that's a method that I've used many, many times in the past. My final question here is from Joker. I'm assuming it's the Joker because he's got the picture. Paul, what is your favorite order when you order Chinese food? And then he's got some bonus questions here as well. So I'm going to answer these in the order that they come. The Chinese food question is kind of loaded because China is a pretty big place and there's a pretty wide variety of food there. If you want like Szechuan food, like you want like hot pot or something like that, I've recently gotten into that and we've been doing some hot pot setups here at home. Whenever I visit Taiwan, I always like to go to Din Tai Fung, and they have xiaolongbao, which is Chinese soup dumplings. Those are amazing. Pretty much all the food at Din Tai Fung is amazing. And Din Tai Fung does have some restaurants here in the US as well. So if you're in the US, look up Din Tai Fung, you might be able to find one, although it's much better in Taiwan. But if you're just asking me what I would get if I was going to like a Panda Express or one of those hole-in-the-wall Chinese food places that's pretty common here in the US, my order would typically be chicken, and usually like an orange chicken or a sesame chicken. I like to get some pork in there too. I like the barbecue pork or sweet and sour pork if that's an option. For carbs, I will frequently go with just all chow mein because I really, really like noodles, although fried rice is good too, so sometimes I go half and half. If I could go like a third fried rice and 2/3 chow mein, that's probably what I would opt for, but most places you can't get that specific. And then egg rolls. I love egg rolls. They're delicious. You had additional questions though. Do I partake of the forbidden herb? I live in California, it's not forbidden here. Do you like Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons? I've often thought that it was really weird because when I was growing up, there was a religious stigma around Dungeons and Dragons because of the spell casting and stuff like that. So I never got into Dungeons and Dragons when I was a youth, I guess. But I did start to play RPGs like Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior and stuff like that. And a lot of the RPG elements are drawn from Dungeons and Dragons, but I've never actually sat down and played a game of Dungeons and Dragons, although I would totally be down to do that. Same goes for Magic the Gathering, I guess, by extension, but I've never really played tabletop RPG games directly. I love playing RPG games as video games. I like hanging out with people. I feel like combining those would be a good thing. Maybe now that we're getting vaccinated and stuff and we can actually hang out in person here in the US, I can do some of that. I guess I just need to find like friends who play Dungeons and Dragons. I guess maybe I should start with friends and then I can ask them if they play Dungeons and Dragons. Wish me luck. Maybe that can be one of my goals for the summer. But that is gonna wrap it up for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for all the questions that you have asked. If you'd like to ask me questions for next month, leave those in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought of this video, or if you have any responses or feedback to the questions that I asked you guys, again, in the comment section down below. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already for more tech videos coming at you real soon. I actually have some time to work this week. Really looking forward to that. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you in the next video.